Greetings. This is Grandmaster Stroud, or Brother Teacher. I just thought I'd send out a message today on some things that have been heavy on my mind for quite a while as it pertains to where the love has gone in the martial arts for one another, the brotherhood. Despite whatever art it is that we study, be it Japanese, Korean, Chinese, American, or otherwise, there's a certain respect that we should have and we should maintain for one another all of the time. Now, this rivalry between this versus that is really nonsense. It's age old and it's redundant. I love everyone. Let me start out by saying that. And partly because that's the way my mother trained me and my spiritual upbringing and my martial arts upbringing. And there's a way that we should behave as martial artists, and it sets us apart from the average man. When you talk about respect, you should look at a martial artist. When you talk about loyalty, the martial artist. When you talk about kindness and humility, those are the tenets of being in any particular martial arts. Howbeit, it is not necessarily that way in the real world. I see people nowadays that they abuse their bodies. They smoke, they drink alcohol to excess, they indulge in drugs, they let their bodies go, and they behave in all types of manners that's unbecoming of anyone that says they are studying any type of discipline. And when you say discipline, discipline simply is doing that you really don't feel like doing, but you know that it's necessary. And martial arts is on the top of that list of disciplines. It is perhaps one of the only endeavors that you can ever find on this planet that you do all of your life. You never retire as a martial artist. I will do this until I can do it no longer, till I can't breathe, because it is indeed a way of life. That is how I was taught, and it is the truth. It is not opinion, it is not speculation. So what's going on with these brothers and sisters in our arts where they think that they're better than the next person, or they think that their art is better than the next person's art? It's not. It's always the person. It is not the art, it's the person that makes the art up. My system of Jinen-Do, I don't think I'm any better than anyone else. And consequently, I have had people looking at me particularly odd and strange over the years, despising what it is that I do. And I could not help but reflect back on Bruce Lee when he came out with his system of not Jinen-Do, but Jinen-Do. And because it was different at the time, people criticized him. And guess what? He is still the most celebrated martial artist in the entire world. He is. And his legacy still continues on. And he still has Junfan, Jinen-Do schools and so forth all over the world. And there's still people who are true to that. And I'm one of them who still follows the traditions of Bruce Lee. Howbeit, I still train and teach my system of Jinen-Do, even though it's predicated on similar principles. Now, I noticed this thing called mixed martial arts. Now, I did mixed martial arts, and to some degree, you can say that I do mixed martial arts today because of the systems that I have studied, and I have combined the concepts together to form one unit, if you will. But the MMA, I'm not browbeating any particular individuals. I'm not challenging anyone. I'm just saying that's not martial arts. You may see people in the MMA that are talented, that are skilled, that may study and or have studied in the past some martial arts. But that's really entertainment. Even boxing has taken the backseat to MMA nowadays. I remember when the Gracie brothers originally started out with the UFC, and they challenged all of the American fighters, or anyone else for that matter in the world, against the Gracie jiu-jitsu system. Now, I will say this out of all sincerity. What they did was not complete jiu-jitsu. Now, that's not to say that they didn't know complete jiu-jitsu. And when I say complete, I'm saying that there are several schools of jiu-jitsu. And all they did really was practice the ground aspect of jiu-jitsu, and they capitalized on it, and they spent more time on the ground and more hours on the ground on the mat work than did their counterparts, the karate guys, the other jiu-jitsu and judo people. They just simply spent a lot of time in one element. Now, don't take my word for it. Go back and review some of the Hoist Gracie tapes, who began that for the Gracie legend, if you will, and notice that 99.9% of his bouts were on the ground. Are you telling me that jiu-jitsu is no good standing up? Oh, God forbid. I studied jiu-jitsu, and I studied combat jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is a total art. Several schools focusing on various aspects of fighting. Jiu-jitsu starts at the top, standing up, and then it may end up on the ground. You can succumb or, submit a person standing. Why didn't they do that? Did that mean that their system was lacking something? But if you look at their schools and their training tapes even, everything is predicated on being on the ground. I don't want to be on the ground if I don't have to be. And if I am, I know what to do. But I would like to have the confidence to say that I can stop a person while I'm standing. And when you tell me that your art is based on ground fighting, then your art is very, very, very limited. And it's questionable. So my concept and my principle, my philosophy is from standing to the ground. You want to be able to protect yourself standing, and if so, to the ground. But don't just glorify the ground aspect of it, sir, because there's too many valuable systems that we have. Muay Thai, valuable system. It has its strong points. We have Taekwondo, Tang Sudo, Wing Chun. We have Jeet-Kune-Do, Pancration. We have Hung Gar. We have numerous martial arts systems and styles that hold their own standing. So please, when you say we have the ultimate system and your system is only based on the ground, not that it doesn't have any valid point, because it does. But don't just base it on the ground, because you start out standing before you're on the ground. As I began to say earlier about where has the love gone as far as martial artists are concerned, I have been hated against. I have been ostracized by some of the local martial artists in my city because I'm different. Very rarely have they ever come and said anything directly to me. You can call it cowardness, I don't know. But you'd hear it through the grapevine and through other people, second and third parties, that system of Jinen-Do is not all that. But you're telling me that my system is not all that, but you can't confront me in a respectful way and then just ask me about my system, or ask me to even show you or demonstrate something to you, because you're practicing an art that you use skits when you're practicing self-defense in tournament competition. Life is not a skit. The streets are not skits. They're based on practicality, founded practical self-defense techniques, straight to the point. You can't rehearse your techniques for the street. You train in those things that are beneficial, and you stick to the basics, the techniques, and you have to have that mind of the warrior. That is the only way you have a chance in the real world. But commercialism has messed us up. There's so many people vying for students' attendance and trying to fill their schools up And they're leaving out so many valuable things that the arts originally taught us. I've already touched on the respect and the loyalty and the honor in the martial arts. And don't forget the training, of course. But the true basis of those particular and specific arts, some of us have left those. And we went on to water down our system. Mom and dad are afraid for little Susie to get hurt in class. So we engage in purchasing all types of equipment so they look like the Michelin Man. Instead of when I was coming up, we had very limited equipment at the time. We just learned our basic techniques so well that we didn't really need the equipment. Now, we had our bumps and our bruises and an occasional bloody nose, black eye, or busted lip. But you know what? Isn't that what the real world has for us when we step outside the confines of our own home and safety? It's real. Now, if you keep walking around with this pretense that you're ready for the world and everyone keeps helping you out and padding you up, so to speak, and watering down the true intention of the art, then we have to question whether or not we're actually practicing martial arts. Or is it just a game? Is it just something that we do as a leisure activity? Is it a hobby? Martial arts is serious. Is serious unto death even. So question yourself today, are you really training in the martial arts? Do you have your techniques down? Do you understand the human anatomy and the body when a person stands before you? Or are you just wailing away at some image in front of you with careless emotion? When you look at the person in front of you, particularly myself and at my age, I see pressure points. I see vulnerable spots on their body. And if peradventure it came down to it and I had to engage someone in the street, I'm not going to be reenacting something that I did in a demonstration, at a karate tournament or open martial arts tournament where it looks flashy. It's going to not necessarily be textbook, but it's going to be on point as far as technique is concerned and right to the point. Life is serious and you have to take it seriously. And when you involve yourself in this thing we call martial arts, remember the first word martial means war. War arts. It didn't say play arts. So learn to distinguish what's tournament, and tournaments have their benefit. And I have competed in many, many tournaments and won many championships. They have their place. But learn how to separate tournament sport from reality fighting. They're really not the same. This is Grandmaster Stroud. And I thank you. I thank you for your time again today in this video. And I thought it was necessary that I make some aware and then even remind some others of us about how the arts were originally intended to be. I love you. God love you. And you have a blessed evening. So long.